It's easy to think of classical music and folk music as two very different things, but that's not always the case. Many composers of what we usually call the common practice era didn't just write, they listened to a lot of the music around them. And they understood that music doesn't have to be put in these neat little boxes all the time. So I guess the thing about men being waffles and women being like spaghetti is not always true. Not all men are waffles. After all, music is music, and there's lots of sources to pull from to make something new and interesting. And that's just what these guys did. You knew we weren't going to get out of this without talking about Mozart, right? And no, sorry, Mozart did not, in fact, write Twinkle Twinkle Little Star as much as the urban legends would like to have us believe. Thing is, we're not actually sure who did. The tune may have been written as early as 1740 and was published in 1761 without lyrics. By the 1780s, when Mozart wrote his famous Variations, it had acquired some lyrics along the way and become a popular children's song. So we can't really give Mozart credit for writing the tune of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, but we can give him credit for popularizing it. So if you know your ABCs, then I hope the next time, won't you think of Mozart? I mean, it's Ralph Vaughan Williams. Where do we even begin with this guy? This is the guy who collected like 800 English folk songs, went all around the UK, traveling about and experiencing the local culture and all this stuff. So, I mean, there was a lot. And he did end up using a lot of those songs and at least inspiration from their style in a lot of his music. One of his most famous is probably the Fantasia on Greensleeves. And you're probably already familiar with Greensleeves, at least at the tune of What Child Is This around Christmas time. But there's another song from Southeast England thrown in there called Lovely Joan. I had never heard of that one, so I had to look it up. It's basically about a lady who comes upon this dude in the forest who's like trying to harass her, and she ends up taking his horse and his ring and running off and escaping. So good for Joan. Yeah, so the themes don't really fit with Greensleeves necessarily, but they're both in the Dorian mode, and I love Dorian mode, so I will accept it. Oh, and here's a bonus fact. Vaughan Williams also arranged a set of sea songs for military band in 1923. So I guess you could say he started the sea shanty trend just 100 years early. A fine young man it was indeed, was mounted upon his milk-white steed. He rode himself all alone, until he came to lovely Joan. Good morning to you, good pretty maid, and twice good morning, sir, she said. He gave her a wink, she rolled her eyes, as he to himself, I'll be there by and by. Now, I'd heard of William Grant Still just on the radio, but I don't really know much about him. Turns out he was a 20th century American composer and the first black composer to have a symphony performed by a major orchestra. Now, I'm an old school enthusiast, so I'm a little leery when I hear the words 20th century whenever it comes to classical music, because it's usually just atonal and just a wild, crazy business. But when I actually listen to a little bit of Still's music, I think I can be a fan. Because he did draw from a lot from the old school and drew from a lot of folk melodies and stuff, and particularly the African American spirituals. Now, he's most well known for his first symphony, the Afro-American Symphony, but he also has some other folk music incorporated in some of his other compositions. One of those would be the Folk Suite for Band, which includes bits of Get On Board, Little Children, Deep River, The Old Ark's a Moverin', and Sinner, Please Don't Let This Harvest Pass. Now, I think I can get on board with that. I hear the train coming, I hear it close at hand, I hear the car wheels rolling and rumbling through the land. Get on board, little children, get on board, little children, get on board, little children, there's room for many more. One of the most notable classical pieces to use American folk styles wasn't even written by an American. Antonin Dvorak lived in New York City for about 3 years while he was the director of a music conservatory there. Unfortunately, the house he lived in while he was here has been destroyed, so yay for bureaucrats, I guess. Now, a group of people dedicated to music history have created the Dvorak Room, also in New York. So if you're anywhere around there, you can take a little field trip and go see what his apartment would have looked like and learn a little bit more about his time here in America. So at least there's that. Anyway, while he was over here, Dvorak channeled his usual style of incorporating Czech folk music and incorporated a little bit of American styles as well when he composed the New World Symphony. He listened to Native American music, Longfellow's The Song of Hiawatha, and some African American spirituals while he was putting it all together. That iconic melody from the second movement, though, that wasn't actually an American folk song. That was just what Dvorak came up with after he listened to the American music. And one of his students went back later and made it into a song called Going Home, but it wasn't originally a folk song. It certainly had me fooled, though. Aaron Copland even brought folk music to the ballet. In his Appalachian Spring, he used the Shaker hymn, Simple Gifts, and really expanded it into something a lot bigger than it really was. Which I think that's the genius of Copland, is that he was able to take something so simple and really expand it while still keeping the simplicity. I guess that was just his gift.
'Tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free, a gift to come down right where we ought to be. When we find ourselves in the place just right, to be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, by turning we come round right.
Last but not least is George Enescu from Romania. Now, he's probably not one of the most well-known classical music dudes out there, but hopefully we can change that today. He was frequently hailed as like this amazing prodigy by everyone who ever heard him play. He was like super good. Somebody even said that he would be able to write down the entire works of Beethoven if they were ever lost. So, like, amazing memory. Yeah, but I don't hear his work being played on the radio and known about and talked about as much as some of the other ones. He was very heavily influenced by a lot of the Romanian folk songs that he heard growing up as a kid. So it was definitely just in the air all around him. Very organically put together, which is nice. In 1901, he compiled several of those songs into a Romanian Rhapsody. He did end up writing a lot of other stuff later in his life, but the Romanian Rhapsody is definitely the most famous one. Yeah, and he kind of considered that a blessing and a curse later in life, because it's kind of like the one thing people knew him for. Kind of a shame for him to be like a one-hit wonder when he apparently wrote a lot of really other good stuff. But that's research for another day. Researching all of this folk music and classical music stuff has really got me thinking, could this go the other way? What kind of classical pieces would you like to see me turn into an indie folk song? I don't know if it can be done, but I bet it can. I'm willing to try. So let me know down in the comments what you think would be cool as a folk classical mashup. And no, I'm not playing Ein kleine Nacht music on a banjo. I don't even have a banjo, so no.
Get on board, little children, get on board. Little children, get on board. Little children, there's room for many more.